Imagine for a moment the sun, a constant presence in our lives, suddenly standing still, time frozen. The forces of nature bending to the will of one man's faith. Sounds impossible, doesn't it? But what if I told you this isn't just a myth or legend, but a moment recorded in one of the oldest books in human history, the Bible? Welcome to the incredible story of Joshua, a leader whose faith was so powerful it stopped the sun and brought down massive walls. Today we'll delve into the mystery behind this astonishing event. Was it divine intervention, a natural phenomenon, or something else entirely? Stay with us as we unravel the secrets of Joshua's mysterious power over time and stone. To understand the miraculous event of the sun standing still, we need to first understand who Joshua was. The context. Who was Joshua? Joshua is one of the most intriguing figures in biblical history. He wasn't just any ordinary man. He was a military leader, a faithful servant of God, and the chosen successor to one of the greatest prophets, Moses. Joshua's story begins in the aftermath of the Exodus, the miraculous journey of the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt. When Moses led the people of Israel through the wilderness for 40 years, it was Joshua who stood by his side, learning and preparing for his own future leadership. He was one of the 12 spies sent to explore the land of Canaan, and only he and Caleb came back with a report full of faith, confident that God would help them conquer the land, while the others were filled with fear. This set Joshua apart as a man of unwavering belief, ready to follow God's call, no matter the cost. As Moses neared the end of his life, God appointed Joshua to lead the Israelites into the promised land. This was no small task. The land was filled with strong nations, fortified cities, and powerful armies. Yet Joshua never hesitated because his faith in God was absolute. When Moses died, the mantle of leadership fell fully upon him, and God promised to be with Joshua just as he had been with Moses. One of the key traits that defined Joshua was his courage. In Joshua 1:9, God commands him, saying, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." This verse became the foundation of Joshua's leadership as he guided the Israelites to their new home. Joshua wasn't just a warrior, but a man of deep spiritual conviction. His relationship with God was personal and profound. He led the people with the belief that their success didn't come from military might or strategic brilliance, but from their faith and obedience to God. This faith would be tested in battles like Jericho and later at Gibeon, where the sun itself would stand still at his command. Under Joshua's leadership, the Israelites experienced victories they could never have imagined. Yet Joshua's strength wasn't just in his battle tactics. It was in his faith, his courage, and his ability to trust in the promises of God, no matter how impossible the situation seemed. Now let's fast forward to the moment that defied nature itself. The Battle of Gibeon. This is one of the most remarkable stories in the Bible. A moment when faith, war, and the supernatural intersected in a way that has left scholars and believers alike in awe for centuries. The story unfolds in Joshua 10, when Joshua and the Israelites are called upon to defend the Gibeonites who had recently formed a treaty with Israel. 5 Amorite kings, outraged by this alliance, joined forces to attack Gibeon, a city of strategic importance. The situation was dire, but Joshua, the leader who had never wavered in his faith, immediately prepared his people for battle. As the armies of the 5 Amorite kings converged on Gibeon, Joshua received a divine message. In Joshua 10:8, God reassured him, saying, "Do not be afraid of them. I have given them into your hand. Not one of them will be able to withstand you." Strengthened by this promise, Joshua led a bold overnight march from Gilgal to Gibeon, catching the Amorite armies by surprise. As dawn broke, the Israelites launched their attack. The battle raged on, but it became clear that Israel was gaining the upper hand. The Bible describes the panic that swept through the Amorite armies as God intervened directly. In Joshua 10:11 we read, "As they fled before Israel on the road down from Beth-horon to Azekah, the Lord hurled large hailstones down on them, and more of them died from the hail than were killed by the swords of the Israelites." The miraculous hailstorm struck fear into the hearts of Israel's enemies, further tipping the battle in Joshua's favor. But even with this divine intervention, time was running out. The day was drawing to a close, and Joshua knew that if darkness fell, the surviving Amorite forces could escape, regroup, or seek refuge in fortified cities. Joshua needed more time, more daylight to finish the fight. In a moment of unprecedented faith, Joshua did something extraordinary. Standing before his people, he lifted his voice and commanded the sun and moon to stop. In Joshua 10:12-13, he declared, "Sun, stand still over Gibeon, and you, moon, over the valley of Aijalon." And then something miraculous happened. So the sun stood still and the moon stopped, till the nation avenged itself on its enemies. According to the Bible, the sun did not set for almost a full day, allowing Joshua and the Israelites to continue their battle and secure a complete victory. This event is often referred to as one of the most remarkable miracles in the Old Testament. The sheer scale of it, a celestial body halting in its course, captured the imagination of generations. The text emphasizes that this was no ordinary day. Joshua 10:14 underscores the significance. There has never been a day like it before or since. A day when the Lord listened to a human being. Surely the Lord was fighting for Israel. While modern readers may grapple with the mechanics of how such an event could have occurred, ancient cultures accepted it as a sign of divine power. For Joshua and the Israelites, it was a moment that proved, beyond any doubt, that their God was in control not just of nations and armies, but of the very forces of nature itself. The victory at Gibeon was secured not because of military might alone, but because the Creator of the universe had intervened. The miracle of the sun standing still during the Battle of Gibeon captivates both believers and skeptics alike. The biblical narrative reveals that Joshua, through his faith, called upon God to halt the natural order, resulting in an extraordinary event. This leads to the question, could there be a scientific explanation behind it? In Joshua 10:12-13, Joshua commands, "Sun, stand still over Gibeon, and you, moon, over the valley of Aijalon." The astonishing outcome was that the sun did not set for nearly a full day. Some modern interpretations suggest a solar eclipse might explain this phenomenon, proposing that a prolonged eclipse cast a shadow over the battlefield. However, this notion fails to grasp the story's essence. Joshua 10:14 emphasizes, "There has never been a day like it before or since, a day when the Lord listened to a human being." This statement underlines the uniqueness of the miracle, an act of divine intervention beyond ordinary occurrences. The miracle illustrates that God's involvement in human affairs transcends natural explanations. The event could also have been localized, experienced uniquely by Joshua and the Israelites. Ancient cultures often viewed miracles as direct manifestations of divine power, reinforcing their faith in God's sovereignty. This perspective is essential for understanding the spiritual significance of the miracle, serving as a reminder of God's willingness to intervene in times of need. Before the events at Gibeon, Joshua led the Israelites in the conquest of Jericho, illustrating faith in action. Jericho, a fortified city, seemed like an insurmountable obstacle. Yet, God provided an unconventional strategy. In Joshua 6:3-5, God instructed Joshua, "March around the city once with all the armed men. Do this for 6 days." This plan defied military logic. relying solely on marching and trumpets. Joshua obediently led the Israelites in this unique approach, displaying their unwavering faith. On the seventh day, they marched around Jericho 7 times, following God's command. In Joshua 6:20, it says, "When the trumpet sounded, the army shouted, and the wall collapsed." The walls fell, not by brute force, but through faith and obedience to God's word. This victory demonstrated that God's methods often defy human understanding. Joshua's actions exemplified the importance of obedience, teaching that God can achieve remarkable outcomes when we trust Him. Joshua's journey imparts vital lessons about faith and obedience. His life showcases how true faith manifests through bold actions, encouraging believers to trust in God's promises. In Matthew 17:20, Jesus says, "If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it will move." Joshua's life exemplifies this principle, showcasing faith that moves mountains and brings the miraculous. In our struggles, we may not face literal walls, but we encounter obstacles, fears, and doubts. Joshua's story encourages us to invite the miraculous into our lives through faith and action, reminding us that God is capable of achieving the impossible. As Joshua 1:9 states, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." This journey inspires us to step out in faith and trust in a God who can do all things. Please subscribe for more and share with your friends. May God richly bless you in Jesus' mighty name. See you in the next video.